At the airport, I was told my ticket was canceled. My family boarded without even looking back. That night, my sister texted, "You should be used to being left out by now." I just replied, "Don't worry, your new year will be unforgettable." When they came back, their phones lit up with alerts. After that, their lives began to fall apart. At the airport, I was told my ticket was canceled. My family boarded without even looking back. That night, my brother texted, "You should be used to being left out by now." I just replied, "Don't worry, your new year will be unforgettable." When they came back, their phones lit up with alerts. After that, their lives began to fall apart. I still remember standing there holding my son's hand as the gate agent scanned boarding passes. The line was moving fast. Everyone was in a good mood, dressed in layers, holding Starbucks cups, taking selfies with their neck pillows. I could see my parents near the front, my brother snapping pictures with his wife, and my sister tossing jokes around like she always did when she was excited. My son waved at them. No one waved back. This trip had been planned for 2 months. Group chats, booking links, screenshots of the cabin we were renting, heated floors, a massive fireplace, private hot tub on the deck, snow forecast for New Year's Eve. I was the third person to send in money, $1 and $300 split just like everyone else. It was supposed to be a week away from everything. The airport was packed, people rushing, kids crying, suitcases squealing behind parents in a hurry. I was nervous for some reason, but I chalked it up to flying with a kid. I double-checked our bags, our coats, my wallet. Everything was in place until it wasn't. The moment the gate agent looked at my ticket, I felt something was off. He scanned it once, then again. His expression didn't change, but his eyes moved quickly to another screen. Then he asked to see my ID. I knew something was wrong when he stepped aside and called someone over. I asked what the issue was. He said my reservation had been canceled. He said it quietly, like it was something I already knew. I asked him to check again. He did. Same result. I told him that couldn't be right, that I paid, that my entire family was on this flight. He asked if maybe someone else had booked it for me. I said yes. My brother had added everyone to the group reservation. That's when the second agent gave me a look I won't forget. Not rude, not pitying, just like he understood something I didn't yet. I stepped away, my son asking if we were getting on the plane. I told him just a minute, and I grabbed my phone. I texted my brother, my sister, even my dad. No one answered. I looked up from my phone and saw them boarding. My parents, my brother, my sister, even my cousin who didn't chip in for groceries last Thanksgiving was happily walking down the jet bridge. Not one of them turned around. My son tugged my sleeve and asked if we were still going on vacation. I said no. The Uber ride home was silent except for him asking once if I was mad. I told him I wasn't. But I was. Mad doesn't cover it. I was numb at first, then cold, then something else entirely. At home, I sat on the edge of my bed and scrolled through our group chat. There was a message from 4 days earlier from my brother saying, "I'll handle the final confirmations." No one questioned it. Why would they? He always handled that stuff. And this time, apparently, he'd handled me right out of the plan. Around 10 p.m., after ignoring my messages for hours, he finally texted me back. It said, "You should be used to being left out by now." No warning, no explanation, just that. I stared at it for 10 seconds before I typed back, "Don't worry, your new year will be unforgettable." And then I got to work. They forgot who they were dealing with. They forgot how much of the family's finances ran through me. Bills, subscriptions, auto pays, savings. I'd been the one they leaned on quietly for years. Never complained, never made it a thing. But that night, I logged into every shared account, changed every password, pulled out every dollar with my name attached to it. By the time I was done, I wasn't part of the family anymore. I was something else. And that was just the beginning. They landed early the next morning. My brother posted one of those fake candid videos. Snow falling in slow motion outside their cabin window, his coffee cup in the foreground, a soft playlist in the background. The caption said something like, "Finally breathing again." A few minutes later, my sister uploaded a video of the living room. Wood beams, fire crackling in the hearth, somebody laughing off screen, probably my cousin. My dad was already wearing the fuzzy robe he mentioned 3 times in the group chat. They looked cozy, carefree, like nothing happened. I watched all of it from my apartment with my son while he ate cereal and asked if we could go sledding later. I said yes and smiled. Not because I was fine, not because it didn't hurt, but because I had a plan now. They thought leaving me behind was just something I'd get over. They forgot I was the one who handled things. That first day, I didn't do anything major. I wanted them to get comfortable. I let them post their little videos and pretend they were living some Pinterest dream. I even gave them 24 hours of peace. Then I started. The first thing I did was pull my debit card off the utility bills at my parents' house. My name was the only one on the auto pay. The bills wouldn't bounce until next cycle, but it started the chain. Next, the streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify Family Plan, gone. I didn't just change the passwords, I shut down the accounts entirely. The email addresses they were tied to, all mine, so were the payments. They'd find out later that night, probably in the middle of some movie. I imagined the TV freezing halfway through and the room going quiet. By noon, my phone was buzzing. A missed call from my cousin. I didn't answer. She texted, "Did you change the password to the expense account?" I ignored it. Then my brother sent me a one-word message. Seriously? Still nothing from me. By day 2, they were scrambling. I got a vague voicemail from my dad saying they were having some issues with a reservation and asking if I had updated something on my end. His voice sounded light, like he was trying not to show concern. He still didn't get it. But that night, something changed. They tried to eat at a steakhouse in town, fancy place. I'd been there before. My mom's card got declined twice. Apparently, the joint account she and I shared to cover bigger purchases had hit the threshold. I'd pulled every dollar out, their backup option, another card linked to a PayPal I set up for them years ago. That one had been drained, too. Then came the cabin host. He emailed my brother saying the second half of the rental fee hadn't gone through. They used my card for the deposit. They assumed I'd be there. Now my name was off the reservation. The payment failed. My brother had to put his own card down. I know he didn't have that kind of limit. He posted nothing that night. In fact, he deleted his earlier posts. Day 3, my sister left early. My dad claimed in the family group chat that she had a work thing come up, but I knew the real reason. The savings account I used to help her cover repairs on her car, the one that was half mine, was closed now. I made sure of it. On day 4, I started getting messages from banks, or rather, I started seeing them get the messages. The mortgage account tied to my parents' home, deactivated. The shared emergency fund we all contributed to, meant to help in case anyone got sick or needed sudden help, closed. My employer-linked bank app, disconnected from anything that wasn't mine, and every alert had my name on it. That's when the texts started coming in. Not just from my dad or brother, but from my cousin, even one of my uncles who wasn't on the trip. They'd heard something was going on. My dad messaged again, this time directly. "What's happening?" I stared at it, then closed the app. They'd relied on me for years, quietly. I was never the favorite, never the loud one, never the one they posted about on birthdays, but I was always the safety net, and they cut me out of a plane I helped pay for. Now they could learn how it felt to fall without one. And the best part? The week wasn't even over yet. By day 6, my phone looked like a hotline. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from relatives who never contacted me unless someone was sick or dead. I hadn't said a word to any of them since the airport, but now suddenly, I was the most popular person in the family. They were still at the cabin, snowed in, ironically. A storm hit the area that morning, and the roads out were temporarily shut down. I only knew that because my cousin posted a clip of the driveway completely buried in snow with the caption, "Cabin fever is real." No filters this time. Around 10 a.m., my dad tried calling again. I watched it ring, then my mom, then my sister, then my brother twice. He sent a follow-up text, "Can we please just talk?" Not a single one of them used the word sorry. I didn't reply. At noon, my cousin texted me something longer. She said the cabin host had threatened to cancel their final 2 nights if they didn't clear the balance. Apparently, the second charge attempt on my brother's card had failed, and the backup card, my mom's, was frozen. She said they were embarrassed and stuck. I didn't even know what they were expecting from me at this point. They had thrown me out of the trip like I was luggage too heavy to bring, and now they were begging me to fight for them. But it got better. Around 1 p.m., the group chat started buzzing. My dad sent a message that just said, "Can anyone access the emergency account? Mortgage bounced." My brother replied with, "I can't even log in. It says the account no longer exists." Then my sister jumped in, "What happened to the savings?" It was chaos. I just kept watching. They were unraveling in real time. The financial setup they'd built their lives around, the one I had quietly maintained, was gone. Not sabotaged, just removed like I had been. That afternoon, my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. I didn't open the door. I stood behind it with my son sitting quietly in the living room. She knocked once, then twice. I waited until she left, then watched her through the peephole walking back to her car. No coat on, no expression on her face. That's when I realized she didn't even know what to say. She didn't come with answers. She came because they were cornered. My brother tried again after that, this time a long message, a wall of text. He wrote that they were overwhelmed, that things had escalated too fast, that no one meant to hurt me, that I was taking this too far, that this wasn't how family behaves, that I needed to think about how this would affect my son, like he cared. No mention of the airport, no explanation for the cancellation, nothing about the fact that I stood there with my child and watched my entire family board a plane without even looking back. I didn't respond. Later that night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Voicemail. It was the cabin host sounding awkward, asking if there was a way I could reactivate the payment or transfer the booking. Apparently, they'd been trying to verify funds for the past 48 hours, and the storm had made things worse. They couldn't check out without settling the full amount, and the system had flagged the reservation for potential fraud. When I heard the word fraud, I actually laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, because the irony couldn't have been thicker. At dinner, my son asked me why everyone was calling. I told him that sometimes when people don't value someone until they lose them, they panic. He nodded like he understood, even though he probably didn't fully, but he would someday. That night, I finally replied to my dad's last message. He had asked, "Are you doing this on purpose?" I wrote back, "Yes," and not even close to finished. I muted the chat after that, put my phone face down, let them sit with it. They had 1 day left at the cabin, and I was just getting started. On their 7th and final full day at the cabin, the silence from their end became deafening. The trip that had been broadcast like a lifestyle blog, every snowflake, every every dinner plate, every log thrown into the fire had suddenly gone dark. No posts, no updates, not even one of those blurry morning selfies my brother always took pretending he just woke up like this. I figured the storm had passed. They were probably tired, maybe humbled, maybe starting to understand. But around 9 a.m., my inbox pinged with an email I wasn't expecting. It was from the cabin's property manager. Not a system-generated notice, but a direct message. Polite, but clearly urgent. They tried charging the outstanding balance 4 times. Every attempt had failed. The email stated that if the full payment wasn't received by 6 p.m., they'd be contacting the local sheriff's department and pursuing the matter as intentional non-payment. I almost deleted it. Instead, I did something else. I forwarded the entire message, header, timestamp, the part where they mentioned possible legal action, directly into the family group chat. No caption, no emojis, just raw, unfiltered consequence. Minutes later, my phone buzzed non-stop. My dad called, then my mom, my brother 5 times, my sister, even my uncle from Florida. I didn't answer a single one. Then came the blocked number. I picked it up because part of me already knew who it was. It was the county sheriff's office. The man on the other end was professional. He said he was following up on a civil complaint regarding a luxury rental property, and my name had been listed as part of the original reservation. He asked if I could confirm whether or not I was still associated with the group. I told him the truth, that I had been removed from the trip without my knowledge, that I never boarded the plane, that I never stayed in that cabin, that I never received a refund. There was a long pause. Then he said, "Understood. Thank you for your time, sir." Not even 10 minutes passed before my brother texted again. "Did you actually report us?" I stared at it but didn't answer. They were already doing that part to themselves. I didn't need to say a word. But then the surprise came. At 1:30 p.m., just as I was helping my son with his snow boots to go to the park, someone knocked on the door. A quiet, steady knock. I looked through the peephole. It was my sister. I hadn't seen her since the week before Christmas. She looked like she hadn't slept. Jacket half-zipped, hair messy like she'd been running on stress. No smile, no hey, just her holding something in her hand. I opened the door only because my son was watching. She asked to come in. I let her. We sat at the kitchen table, the one covered in crayons and sticker books. She said she didn't know they canceled my ticket, that it was all handled by my brother, that she honestly thought I had backed out at the last minute. I told her I was standing at the gate, holding my child's hand, that my son had waved at her while she looked the other way. She didn't argue. Then she pulled out a check and slid it across the table. "Wire $300, my portion of the trip." She said, "Just take it, please." Dad's freaking out. "They're talking about calling a lawyer. Everyone thinks you're going to get them arrested." I didn't touch the check. I looked at it, then her, and I told her the truth. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about every Christmas where I was treated like a backup plan. Every phone call I answered at 2 a.m. to help someone pay off a bill they forgot about. Every time they used me like a safety net and then walked away like I didn't matter. I told her this was me stepping off the stage, not with drama, but with finality. She nodded, then she left. Quiet. No comeback. No defense. That night I got the final message from my brother. "You've always been bitter. You just finally snapped." Followed a few minutes later by, "You're not acting like a real son." I screenshotted both, not because I wanted proof, but because I wanted to remember exactly who they were when it all started to collapse. But the twist I didn't see coming came the next morning. Local news picked up the story. A headline ran across their town's community site. "Luxury cabin guests under investigation for unpaid rental fees during holiday storm." It didn't name names, but there was a photo taken from the street. Blurry, but clear enough. My dad in that robe, my mom in her flannel, my brother with his arms crossed, my cousin behind him. They were trending locally by lunch. Someone posted the article on Facebook and tagged my brother. I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I just poured myself coffee and watched the whole thing quietly. For the first time in years, they were finally the ones explaining themselves, and I didn't have to say a single word. The news story didn't explode. It didn't go viral or end up on the front page of anything, but it hit the exact pockets it needed to. Their town, their church group, their Facebook circle, the little social world they cared so much about. The caption under the photo was simple. "Out of town, guests fail to pay for cabin rental during winter storm, under investigation." The photo wasn't even flattering. My dad looked confused. My brother was mid-blink, and my mom was in the middle of adjusting her jacket. But it was them. No denying it. By noon, my dad's Facebook was wiped. My brother's stories were gone. My cousin's Instagram locked. I didn't need to check my messages to know the group chat was dead, not just silent, abandoned. I expected some kind of retaliation. Maybe another angry text or one of them showing up again, but nothing came. Just silence. A new kind of silence. Not the kind where people are too proud to apologize. The kind where they're too ashamed to be seen. 3 days passed. No word. No calls. No accusations. For once, no one was asking me to fix anything. Then on Friday afternoon, while I was folding laundry in the living room, my son walked in holding an envelope. He said someone left it at the door. No knock. No name. Inside was the same check my sister had handed me. Still folded. Still uncashed. And a letter. 1 page. Typed. No signature. The language was stiff. Overly formal. It said they had reviewed contributions made toward the trip and decided that since I hadn't actually gone, I wasn't entitled to a refund. refund. It called what happened a family misunderstanding and said it was time to let the matter rest and move forward. Let it rest, like it hadn't been deliberate, like it hadn't been cruel, like it was a misunderstanding that they left my child and me at the airport without a word. I didn't get mad. I didn't scream. I didn't even text them back. I grabbed a pen, turned the page over, and wrote one sentence. Next time you want peace, don't start a war you expect someone else to clean up. I sealed the envelope, left it with no return address, and dropped it in their mailbox on my way to the store. No dramatic goodbye, no final word, just facts. The rest of that weekend was strangely calm. Nobody reached out. No one came knocking. The group chat stayed quiet. I think they realized the damage wasn't just financial anymore. It was something deeper. The moment they showed me exactly where I stood in their world, and I believed them. But what changed everything for me happened that Sunday. We were walking back from the park. My son was holding my hand, dragging his boots a little because the snow was starting to melt. He looked up and asked me something that stopped me cold. He said, "How come we always have to be the quiet ones?" I asked him what he meant. He shrugged and said, "Like when people are mean or lie or leave us out. You just say it's okay and move on, but I don't think it's okay." I stood there for a second, letting that sink in. He wasn't accusing me. He wasn't trying to start anything. He was just saying what he saw, and he was right. For years, I had been the one to smooth things over, to forgive before anyone asked, to keep the peace even when it cost me everything. And for what? So they could leave me behind and call it a scheduling issue? I looked at him and said, "You're right, it's not okay, and it won't be happening again." That night, I sat at my laptop and booked a trip, just for us, mid-January, a private cabin in Colorado, real snow, real firewood, a hot tub overlooking a frozen lake, all the things I'd paid for, but never got to enjoy. No group chats, no shared accounts, no favors, just me and my son. When the confirmation came through, I posted a screenshot. Not flashy, just a caption that read, "Paid in full, no passengers left behind." A few days later, we were in the mountains, laughing in the snow, drinking cocoa under a wool blanket, watching the fireplace crackle while the wind howled outside. And yes, I posted pictures, not for attention, for clarity, for them to see what it looks like when I take my power back. For once, I wasn't the one behind the camera. I wasn't the one making sure everyone else was okay. I was the one finally living, and I didn't miss them, not even a little. We left early on a Thursday morning. No rush, no crowds, no chaos, just my son and me, a thermos of coffee, and a playlist we built together the night before. He picked half the songs, mostly cartoon soundtracks and things I wouldn't have chosen, but I didn't mind. Felt good to let someone else have a say. The resort was tucked between mountains, isolated, but in the best way. We checked into a private cabin with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that made me forget anything with a screen existed, but I still brought my phone. I knew I'd use it, not to message anyone, those bridges were gone, but to share the version of the story that was mine. That first evening, I posted a photo. My son in a red beanie holding a snowball mid-laugh. No caption, just the image. By the next morning, 3 of my relatives had viewed my story, including my brother. Then came the passive-aggressive likes, quiet ones from extended family. No comments, no DMs, just digital footprints from people who knew exactly what had happened and didn't know how to handle the fact that I wasn't broken over it. Today, I shared more. Snowmobiles, late-night hot tub, a short clip of us baking cookies in the cabin's little kitchen. I even posted the receipt from the dog sled ride, not to brag, but to remind them I paid for this trip myself. No shared cards, no silent subsidies, just me. The reactions were quiet, but obvious. My cousin reactivated her stories and posted a vague quote about letting go of grudges. My dad somehow found a way to send a single heart emoji to one of the photos. I didn't reply. Then one night, my brother posted something for the first time in weeks. It was a black square with white text that said, "People change. Sometimes the kindest ones become cold after being burned too many times." I didn't screenshot it. I didn't need to, because the thing he didn't realize is, I didn't become cold. I became clear. There's a difference. Our last night there, my son asked if we could come back next year. I told him yes, without checking with anyone, without needing approval. I didn't need to run it by a group chat or worry about who was splitting what. We were our own plan now. On the flight home, he fell asleep leaning against me, and I just sat there watching the clouds pass below, thinking about how quiet it all became once I stopped asking to be seen. When we landed, I turned on my phone. One last message waited for me from my brother. It said, "You made your point. Hope it was worth it." I stared at it for a moment, then I blocked him. Not out of spite, but because there was nothing left to say. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about freedom, and I had never felt lighter.